Just lost Daryl and David.
We're preparing for last movies.
All right, no worries. In your hands, mate.
Thanks for you, Sam.
All good. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our August ordinary meeting. I'd like to pay my respects and acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet tonight, and pay my respects to the elders past and present, and elders from many other communities which may be here today. Thank you. Receipt of apologies, Mrs. Hugh. Do we have it?
Somewhere through you, we have a receipt of. Oh no, we don't have any receipt of apologies.
Thank you. Item 3, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. Council have recommendation that Council adopt the minutes of the Council meeting held on Wednesday the 12th of July 2023, and Council adopt the minutes of the Council meeting held on Tuesday the 1st of August 2023. Could I get a move for a second for those points?
Happy to move that, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Simpson beat you, Councillor Will, but I'll take yours as a second. Any discussion? All those in favour? Against, carried. Now, just before we get any further, councillors on the screen, can you hear and see us clearly? Councillor Warren?
Yes, Mayor, I can hear and see everyone very clearly. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Pollard?
Yes, I can hear, I can see you, but you're in the distance.
No worries. Councillor Stewart?
Yes, I can see and hear everybody.
Thank you. Request for leave of absence. Councillors, request for leave of absence was received last month from Councillor Carolyn Stewart, Borough Vocal Ward, for the period of 1 July 2023 until 31 December 2023, inclusive for the reason as provided to Council. As this request was originally considered at the 12th of July 2023 Council meeting, however, due to an oversight in the determination of the question put to Council, it is necessary for this matter to be brought back to Council for reconsideration. Councillors, again note the following for the minutes tonight ahead of the reconsideration for the request. And I refer to clause 8 of the Municipal Council Ministerial Guides 2015, the guidelines, which details the duties of a councillor. A councillor being absent from their role and duties as defined in the guidelines for a substantial period of time leaves constituents feeling unrepresented and requires other councillors to pick up the increased workload to address the lack of ward coverage. Council notes Councillor Stewart's reasons for the request. Council also notes the inherent requirements of the role of a councillor per the guidelines previously mentioned, and the fact that the extended absence means that these requirements are not met. Councillors are looking for a motion, please.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Certainly.
Did you get legal advice on that statement?
I received advice from staff, Mr. Councillor Pollard.
Well, what concerns me is that the Local Government Act also says that we cannot unreasonably refuse leave.
That's correct.
So why aren't you using that in your statement as well?
Statement has been prepared for me, councillor Pollard.
Yeah, under your wishes.
Under the wishes of the councillors at the July councillor only time, councillor Pollard.
That's fine, but as long as everyone's aware that we potentially are breaching the Local Government Act if you put your recommendation up again.
Thank you, councillor Pollard. We'll take that. Councillors are looking for a motion, please.
I'd like to move a motion. Right, please move a motion that council grant a leave of absence for councillor Carolyn Stewart for the period commencing 1st of July 23, including 31st of December 2023.
Thank you, councillor Hogan. Is there a seconder for that motion, please?
Happy to second that, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Warren. Discussion, councillor Hogan.
I'm happy that that if councillor Stewart feels that she needs more time and requires a leave of absence, I think it's a given that the council exercise a duty of care and allow her to do that.
Councillor Warren.
Look, I just reinforce the words that Councillor Pollard used, and that is that council should not unreasonably refuse a request for a leave of absence, given that we've been provided with circumstances which I think are self-evident. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Warren. Other councillors? That's been moved by councillor Hogan and seconded by councillor Warren. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Before it goes to the vote, please, Mr. Mayor, can you just repeat the motion? I didn't quite hear it.
Sorry, councillor Hogan's moved the motion that councillor grant a leave of absence for the councillor Stewart for the period commencing 1 July 2023 and concluding 31 December 2023 inclusive. Been moved by councillor Hogan and seconded by councillor Warren.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Milne.
I have thought of a question that I'd like to ask if I can, please, Mr. Mayor. It relates to the statutory meeting. It may have been explained, but I'm not sure whether I was heard it or not. But how does the statutory meeting get conducted with all councillors getting a fair run at the allegations if there's due absence?
Need to take that one.
Well, they won't be required to be there because they're on leave. So, well, particularly one is at the moment, maybe others.
Ms. Stedman.
I'm happy to take it on notice, but
Mr. Mayor, I think it's probably appropriate that we take that particular question on notice. In fairness to the more recent question.
Any other questions? I'll put that to the vote. Then the motion, all those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. I've got a second application there, Mrs. Hugh. Do you want to?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, we have a request for leave of absence from councillor Pollard for the period of 10th of August 2023 to 30 November 2023.
Thank you. Councillors, any debate or we have a request for leave of absence. Can I have a mover for that, please, from councillor Pollard? Councillor Milne, and a seconder. Councillor Hogan. Debate, discussion? Councillor Milne?
no discussion, no debate. As has been explained to us, we don't have the right to question, we don't have the right to refuse what is rightfully requested, and in this particular case, I won't do that.
Thank you. Councillor Hogan?
No.
Any other councillors got on that one? Councillor Simpson?
Through the mayor, I would just like to note that Councillor Pollard has been a councillor since 2008, and I believe this is the first time he has requested a leave of absence.
Thank you. Any further comment? Yeah, Councillor Warren, I'm not sure whether you got your hand up. You're a long way away. I'm only got a little square of you, so I can't really see.
I don't have my hand up at all, Mayor.
Now I can see you
Thank you.
clearly. Thank you.
I think
All right, put that to the vote. All those in favour? Well, that's carried. Thank you. Books. Hang on while we change books. Item 5, declaration of pecuniary and conflict of interest in accordance with section 132 of the Local Government Act 2020. Councillors who have conflict of interest in respect to a matter being considered at the meeting must A, disclose the conflict of interest in the manner required by the council's governance rules 2020, and A, B, exclude themselves from the decision-making process in relation to this matter, including any discussion or vote on the matter at any council meeting or delegated committee, and any action in relation to the matter. Councillors, do we have any conflict of interest?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I know of at this point.
Councillor Pollard, Councillor Stewart, I've lost you. Oh, there, no, we're coming back. Don't right now, so we'll take that as no conflict. Questions from the public, of which we have 3. You read the questions, I give the answers.
Okay. Thank you.
No.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, the question is from Elder Uncle Gary Murray. And reads, council discussions with First Nations re removal of sacred emus. And by way of background, at its last meeting of the Mount Witchcreek Emu Working Group on Monday, the 10th of July, the chairman, Councillor Alan Getley, told the meeting that the council had been having discussions with the traditional owners who were interested in the removal of the sacred emus from Mount Witchcreek. Councillor Getley's response implied that these discussions had been held prior to the meeting. On the basis of this statement, it was proposed that the issue of translocating the sacred emus from Mount Witchcreek was put back on the agenda of the working group. When asked for the details of the person discussions had been had, Councillor Getley replied it was an Auntie Shirley Morgan from Kamarajunga. Beg your pardon. Following the meeting, First Nations representative Cheryl O'Connor-Sharge discussed these matters with many of the elders and representatives of the actual First Nations traditional owners of Mount Witchcreek, Barapa, Wemba, and Wigagia peoples. Not one single elder said they knew of this person. In fact, Elder Uncle Gary Murray stated that such a person does not exist. The representative informed Councillor Getley on Monday, the 31st of July, 2023. Councillor Getley told her that he would have to look up his notes about this matter. He also stated that any discussions with the Shirley Morgan had in fact taken place some 18 months ago. Councillor Getley, the question reads, as First Nations traditional owners wish to discuss these matters with Auntie Shirley Morgan to obtain her views in the matter and to put their considered position, they urgently request Councillor Alan Getley to provide to this council meeting tonight, Wednesday the 9th of August 2023, his notes of his meeting with Auntie Shirley Morgan and provide to Uncle Gary Murray and First Nations representative Cheryl O'Connor-Sharge full contact details he has for Auntie Shirley Morgan.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I've had no direct conversation with Auntie Shirley Morgan in relation to the emu from Mount Witchcreek. There are no meeting notes in existence relating to prior contact with Auntie Shirley Morgan. Even if we had contact details for privacy reasons and under the Privacy and Data Protection Act, we would not be in the position to provide them. Question 2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Councillor Pollard.
before we go on to question 2, is it okay if Councillor Stewart leaves?
Yeah, she has an established leave of absence, she may.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Milne, did you have a question?
Just like to clarify whether the meeting was with you or somebody prior to your.
Prior to my time.
Prior to your
Yeah,
time.
I have never, I mean, I know Auntie Shirley, but I have not met with her regarding this matter. It predated my time in council.
It reminds me of something that was done some 18 months, 2 years ago,
Predated my time.
if not 3 years ago.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, we have a second question this evening from Uncle Gary Murray. And the question says, Shire of Buloke's land manager encounters policy on the use of Roundup glyphosate on Mount Witchy Proof Reserve. So by way of background, First Nations traditional owners noted with concern the Shire acknowledged at its last meeting with the Mount Witchy Proof Emu Working Group on Monday, the 7th of July, 2023, that it had facilitated a grant of $10,000 from the Victorian Government for Friends of Mount Witchy Proof to continue their program for the ongoing spraying of Mount Witchy Proof with Roundup glyphosate.
Thank you.
Sorry, he continues. First Nations traditional owners representative at that meeting, Cheryl O'Connor stated that First Nations elders were against the continued use of Roundup glyphosate on Mount Witchy Proof due to its serious impact on flora and fauna, some of which is noted as endangered and rare in the state of Victoria. See details contained in Port Foreman's report, August 2017. And the issue of spray drift in such close proximity to the Witchy Proof primary and high school, to private residences and to the reserve of the sacred emus on the mount. Overseas practice prevents spraying glyphosate within 850 metres of any school. Alarmingly, spray drift has occurred on Mount Witchy Proof within the actual boundaries of the Witchy Proof school. It is noted that local landcare has expressed concern over this practice. It is also noted Roundup has been banned in dozens of countries worldwide and by multiple Australian local governments because of its toxicity to humans. Your question reads, First Nations traditional owners asked the Shire to meet on an urgent basis with representatives from the Shire, Landcare, the Witchy Proof School, DECA and Friends of Mount Witchy Proof in regard to this, and they request council to auspice such a meeting. They therefore request the Shire to contact Elder Uncle Gary Murray and First Nations representative Cheryl O'Connor to set up such an urgent meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Hugh, and thank you for the question. Council staff will seek to ensure Landcare, the Witchy Proof P12 College and DECA representatives are in attendance at the next meeting of the Mount Witchy Proof Emu Working Group, which is scheduled for September 2023. It's noted that Council has a legislative responsibility which must be met under the Catchment and Land Protection Act 1994, which governs the management of invasive plants and species in Victoria. Thank you. Question 3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question is, First Nations traditional owners congratulate the Shire and community on King of the Mountain, have concerns in relation to sacred emus. So by way of background, First Nation traditional owners have been advised of the return of various races comprising the festivities to take place on the 30th of September 2023, the return of the King of the Mountain races. Traditional owners wish to take this opportunity to congratulate the Shire and the community on the return of this event. First Nations traditional owners note that in earlier years, first prize winners numbered some of their members. For example, Shirley Nicholson. Given the expectations of some of the community in relation to numbers of participants and onlookers likely to attend this event, First Nations traditional owners are concerned that sacred emus on Mount Witchy Proof should be properly protected, given the likely influx of persons from outside the community on the day. Mr. Mayor, the question reads, given these concerns, First Nations traditional owners ask, what steps is the Shire contemplating to protect the sacred emus in their enclosure? Goes on to state that many of the notices on the emu enclosure have now disappeared, and will the Shire replace the missing notices that have disappeared from the perimeter fencing of the emu reserve, alerting the public to the emu enclosure and the need to respect the presence of the emus? Emus will generally be nesting at this time of year. And thirdly, if so, when does council intend replacing the missing notices?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. It is noted that the whole emu enclosure is locked to ensure public safety. The King of the Mount and other organised races on the 30th of September 2023 will only take place on the established roadways, which is well away from the emu enclosure. A traffic management plan is being undertaken by the community group organisers in conjunction with the relevant road authorities. Temporary replacement signs will be placed by the end of the week, and arrangements to order permanent signs for delivery within the coming week and are presently being made. It's also recommended that anybody who observes signs missing in the future report them through the customer service desk or via the phone 1300 520 520. Thank you. Item 7, procedural items. 7.1, report of councillor assemblies. Council have a recommendation that note the report of council assembly meetings held on the 4th and 19th of July 2023. Can I get a mover for those, please? Councillor Hogan, a seconder, please. Councillor Milne, any discussion or comment? Thank you. Councillor Milne?
No.
All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Yeah, but this one off. 7.2, you have to do that. 7.2, correspondence initiated by council, office of the CEO, Mrs. Hugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, this report outlines status update in relation to correspondence sent on behalf of the council, and where appropriate, the responses received.
Thank you. Council, we have a recommendation that council notes the recent record of correspondence initiated by the council and the responses that have been received. Councillor Simpson.
Just before we ask that, I would like to express and forward on concerns about the delay in correspondence being sent to appropriate organisations. We have some organisations who have their activities, they're finding it quite difficult to progress with their activities because they have not received the correspondence which we have mentioned in previous council minutes and meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Councillors, do we have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Warren, up on the screen. Seconder, please.
Yeah, happy to.
Councillor Mill. Councillor Pollard, I've got you there. That's fine. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mayor, just harking back to the first item on the table, Bendigo Bank, dated 18th of April, seems to have no response to that. I mean, either they're not going to respond or, like the other ones, they should be removed. I mean, obviously they deem it unfit to respond to the council with a concern about our community and their banking arrangements. So I think, well, rather than flog a dead horse, so to speak, let's just take it out of there.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Any other comment? All those in favour? Yes, that's carried. Thank you. 7.3, letters of congratulations and recognition and achievement awards. Now, I've got none on my list at the moment. Councillor Mill.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add the Birchip Historical Society, who is coming up to their 40th anniversary. They're having their annual general meeting tonight, which I've got no doubt will be slightly attended by people, but they're a great group of people that provide a great service to the community. And for them to attain their 40 years is a great achievement, given that some of them have probably been there since its inception. With all due respect to their age.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Any others, councillors? Councillors, I'd just like to add the Kalgoa Development Group to that list. Saturday they had their 20th birthday for their store and back too, which I'm going to talk about a bit later on. So I might add that to the list as well. So now that we've got a couple, the recommendation that council acknowledge and congratulate the persons and/or groups mentioned in the report for their achievements. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Councillor Hogan, seconder. Councillor Simpson, any other discussions? All those in favour?
Yeah.
That's carried. Councillor's building permit update. Council got a recommendation that the council note the information contained in the reports of the building permits approved by staff from 1 June 2023 to 30 June, July on that.
Mr. Mayor, the information contained in the body of the report does indicate a July date period. So perhaps the council might like to move an alternate motion as a procedural matter.
Would the councillor care to move a procedural motion, please, that the dates on this report are amended to the correct dates, please? Councillor Simpson, Councillor Hogan.
Happy to move that they be amended to the 1st of July 2023 to the 30th of July 2023 for the building permits approved by staff.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that? Gentlemen, did you hear that procedural motion?
Yeah, I just noted it's the 31st of July, isn't it?
Correct.
Thank you.
All those in favour?
You need a.
Oh, so Councillor Hogan.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. All those in favour? Good, that's carried. Councillors, now we have a recommendation that the council note the information contained in the report on building permits approved by staff from 1 July 2023 to 31 July 2023. I'll move it for that, please. Councillor Hogan, seconder. Councillor Milne, discussion. All those in favour? Yes, that's carried. 7.5, planning applications received monthly updates. The council have recommendation that council note the information contained in the report on planning applications under consideration by the staff and the status of each of these applications. Can I get a mover for that, please?
Can you do that, Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Milne, seconded by Councillor Pollard. Discussion?
No, there's some of these have been there for some time, but there is movement I can see on some of the applications. Objections have been resolved.
Good.
And stuff is moving, so I'm happy.
Councillor Pollard? No, all those in favour? They should be dead. That's carried, thank you. 7.6, status of action of past council meetings or resolutions. The Office of the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, this report outlines the status of actions against each council resolution for prior meetings, where those actions are still continuing.
Thank you. Council's got a recommendation that the council note the status of action report for council resolutions documented on the list. Could I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Pollard, a seconder. Councillor Hogan, discussion. Councillor Pollard, happy. Okay, all those in favour? Against, that's carried. Item 8, general business policy report, volunteer policy. Now we're just going to do the same.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to introduce this report. With your
Thank you.
permission, thank you. So as councillors would be aware, we've had ongoing discussions with Charlton community-based volunteers who are interested in supporting the delivery of services associated with our parks and gardens activities, including nature strip management, as part of the Beautify Charlton project. Establishing a policy position for volunteer engagement is a crucial step in furthering discussions with this group, but policy also more broadly outlines council's ongoing commitment and support to volunteers which work within the council. This policy provides information in relation to the national standards for volunteer involvement and how council will ensure it continues to pursue best practice in this space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Yu. Council's recommendation that council adopt the volunteer policy. Well, I move it for that, please. Councillor Mill, seconder. Councillor Warren. Discussion, Councillor Mill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I think this is a vital piece of work which has been highlighted through a number of requests from different organisations to be able to work within the community. So I think it's also a good opportunity that council, being short-staffed in some areas, may well be able to get some real benefit out of this situation. In that if we have volunteers willing, we will be able to use them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Nothing to add, Mayor. I suppose it's curious. I mean, I would have thought the council would have had this particular policy in place for many years, given the number of volunteers that currently give their time freely to council. Just an observation, but it's good to see that there's something finally on the books.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Other councillors? So council's recommendation that we adopt the volunteer policy. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 8.12, Wimmera Southern Valley Development Limited Membership. Office of the CEO.
Mr. Mayor, through you, following a recent discussion between Buloke Shire Council and representatives from the Wimmera Southern Valley Development Limited, the board of that organisation resolved at its main meeting to invite Buloke Shire Council to become a member council, subject to its member council approval. Wimmera Southern Valley Development aims to lead, support and encourage sustainable development of the region in partnership with the government, business and the community, and determine the natural and built resources of the region which may be used to further economic development opportunities. Current members of Wimmera Southern Valley Development are the municipalities of Horsham Rural City, Hindmarsh Shire, West Wimmera Shire, Yarra Shire and Northern Granton Shire. This report recommends that council consider accepting the invitation from Wimmera Southern Valley Development Limited for the term of the Memorandum of Understanding and nominates the Mayor of the Day to be a member director.
Thank you. Councils have a recommendation that council invite the invite and applies to become a member of the municipal of Wimmera Valley, Southern Wimmera Valley Development Limited for the term of the Memorandum of Understanding, and if accepted, nominates the Mayor of the Day to be the member director under clause 3.3-A of the Memorandum of Understanding. If I get a mover for that, please. Councillor Mill.
Yeah, happy to move that, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Hogan. Discussion, Councillor Mill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, this has been on our books for a number of years as a discussion point, and we've always wondered whether we would get value out of being a member of this. I guess we've had some benefits that have come from this organisation to us without being a member, and while it's a large amount of money, I think there's opportunity for us to get good value out of it, and it is only a 2-year period at this point in time, and we can reassess our opinion and situation at the end of that, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Mill. Councillor Hogan.
I just think it's a really valuable opportunity to provide with our neighbouring councils. Yeah, I just very much interested.
Thank you. Other councillors?
Mayor, it's just, I suppose, a fairly cynical observation. I noticed that a lot of the member councils were also member councils of the Wimmera Library group as well. I just hope it doesn't go that way in the future.
Thank you, councillor Warren. Any other comment? Councillors, that's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 8.2 Community Grants Guidelines. Jenna.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, councillors, this report is presented to council to adopt the updated community grants guidelines for the 2023-2024 year. Council allocates $20,000 in community grants and sponsorship, $50,000 in sustainability grants annually. The community grants guidelines are in place to ensure that there is clarity and transparency around allocations of community grant funding. Councillors, tonight we bring to you the community grants guidelines for adoption.
Thank you. Councillors have a recommendation that council endorse the community grants guidelines 2023-2024 and delegate the Chief Executive Officer to advertise the grants program and accept applications to the community grants program. Someone care to move that, please? Councillor Mill, seconded by Councillor Warren. Discussion, Councillor Mill.
Once again, an important part of our community involvement is to give a little bit of money back to organisations that need a bit of a helping hand, and we're lucky enough to have this money to be able to do that. So we did have some discussion about changing rules, but I think there is opportunity to improve the community grant scheme at any time that we find that something doesn't work or something doesn't make sense. And I thank the staff for that time. Unfortunately for them, it's probably remained fairly much the same as it was. But having said that, I think it's a very important program, and I hope it continues on.
Councillor Warren.
Nothing to add. I mean, this is a matter that we basically need to review every year, and it's good to see that the wishes of the councils are being carried through.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Any other council? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 8.23 Customer Experience Strategy 2022-2025 Progress Report. We just noted this one. Is she comfortable?
Yep, shall we just start?
Jenna, I'll hand over to you again, if you're comfortable.
Are we up to the
Customer Experience Strategy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, council, this report proposes that the draft customer experience charter be endorsed for a public submission process in accordance with council's community engagement policy. The charter guides council officers' interaction with the community and is an expression of council's commitment to providing a high standard of service and ensuring consistency and sustainability in service delivery. Councillors, tonight we bring the draft customer experience charter for endorsement.
Thank you, Jenna. Recommendation that council one notes the progress made against the Customer Experience Strategy 2022 and to 2025. Could I get a mover for that point? Councillor Hogan and a seconder. Councillor Simpson. Discussion, Councillor Hogan.
I think this is a good way to make sure that we've got consistency across all of our front-facing staff and yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson.
I think that this policy is building on previous policies and hopefully will continue to improve our customer experience.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Councillor Mill.
No, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess the challenge with this is that given the number of staff that we don't have at the moment, that we are able to maintain a consistency, and that goes for councillors as well. I mean, we're all that we return calls and acknowledge people that have made contact with us when it's required. So it's a very important document that keeps out front to the public squeaky clean, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mill. Other councillors' comments? Councillor
Just-
Pollard,
Just a question, Mr Mayor. What's the item number for this motion?
8.23.
Oh, right, yeah, because we've just got 8.22 we've overlooked.
All right, we'll continue with this report, Councillor Pollard, and then we'll go back one.
No, that's fine. I was just a little bit confused. Sorry, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, it's all right. I haven't got a little bit of paper stuck on 8.22, so I've missed it. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. I'll go back to 8.22. They didn't have a bit of paper on that one, so that you've missed it. Yeah. That's it. That's all right. 8.22 draft customer experience charter. Jenna, is this you again? Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you, councillors, this report proposes that the draft customer experience charter be endorsed for a public submission process in accordance with council's community engagement policy. The charter guides council officers' interaction with the community and is an expression of council's commitment to providing a high standard of service and ensuring consistency and sustainability in service delivery. Councillors, tonight we bring the draft customer experience charter for endorsement.
Thank you, Jenna. Councillors have a recommendation that Council 1 endorse the draft customer experience charter for consultation, noting in its preparation in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020. 2, invites community feedback submission on the draft customer experience charter until the 1st of September 2023. And 3, notes the final customer experience charter will be presented to Council for consideration at the scheduled meeting 13th of September 2023. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Milne, and seconded by Councillor Pollard. Councillor Milne, discussion?
As with the last, for the previous dot point, I guess, very important that we get the customer experience right. It's an area where we can be criticised quite quickly, and sometimes wrongly, but sometimes rightly. So it's good to have these sort of things out for community consultation, that they understand the process, and hopefully they take the time to get themselves involved in it, because it is, I guess, a very, as I said before, a very important front door to the Buloke Shire.
Thank you. Councillor Pollard, anything to add? I think you're on mute, Councillor Pollard.
Now, I double touched it instead of thing single.
Got you now.
Just to add that it'll be interesting to see the information or the submissions that come back from the community.
Thank you. Any other councils? All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. 8.24 Risk and Resilience Grants Program. Capital Projects Officer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillors, the Risk and Resilience Grants Program is funded under the National Partnership Agreement on that disaster risk reduction. So applicants for eligible flood projects have access to funding provided by the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action, which complements funds from the National Partnership Agreement. For these projects, applicants must demonstrate a funding contribution towards their projects, either cash or in kind, is equal to at least 1/3 of the total project cost. Councillors, the October 22 flood event proved that the existing prefabricated levee in Donald to not only be effective but very efficient, particularly with limited staff and volunteer resources. Construction of a second demountable levee built on Camp Street near the Burn Street intersection with more than half the amount of time required to make Donald flood ready and allow people and several vital pieces of land to be reassigned to other flood preparation activities. Councillors have a recommendation for them.
Thank you. Mr McLaughlin, councillors, we've got a recommendation that council approve a financial contribution of $70,000 from the $200,000 grant opportunity reserve for the financial year 2024, in addition to a $180,000 cancelled cash commitment in financial year 2025 for the purpose of a funding application towards the Risk and Resilience Grants Program 2023 Delegate the Chief Executive Officer to apply for the Risk and Resilience Grants Program 2023, and 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign the funding agreement on behalf of Council should the application be successful. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder, please.
I'd like to move that, Mr Mayor, but we include that it goes towards the demandable levy for the other side in Donald, because there's nothing to say what we're applying for in the recommendation.
Says that in the discussion, but do we need to add that somewhere? So that's an amendment, Councillor Pollard?
No, I just changed the recommendation to include that in, please. We don't need to amend it.
So can we have a seconder for that? Councillor Hogan, thank you. Righto, so that amendment will become the entire motion. Like Councillor Pollard, you viewed that, so discussion on that, Councillor Pollard?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I've been of great concern. It's a huge risk to the Shire having that earthen levy, because it's usually a huge rush to get the compaction right so as the water doesn't blow it out. So I think it'll be fantastic to have a demandable one. It'll be a lot safer for the Donald community, and we can concentrate our efforts into other areas of the Shire in an emergency event, because it'll have a lot more stable levy for the roads there.
Councillor Hogan?
I think it's really important that we support initiatives to mitigate against the risk of future floods in all of our flood-prone towns.
Any other councillors?
Through you, Mr Mayor, just to, I guess, reiterate Councillor Pollard's words and Councillor Hogan's. But when you look at the figures that are presented by Mr McLaughlin here, with the comparison between both sides, it's fairly obvious that the sooner we can get the second side done, then we can move on to not only other things that in the event of another flooding event, but we can also move on to other projects that are in our flood ready list. Once we get this one kicked off, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments, councillors? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Thank you. Missed 8.3 financial reports, of which there are nil. 8.4 organisational reports, Council Plan 2021-2025, Year 3 Annual Plan. Director of Community Development, Jenna, it's you again.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you, Councillor, this report is to adopt the Council Plan 2021 to 2025, Year 3 Annual Plan, which outlines the delivery of the third year of Buloke Shire Council Plan 21 to 25. Council Plan Year 3 Annual Plan highlights a range of key actions against the strategic objectives set out in the Council Plan. Given Council's response to the October 2022 flood event, 11 of the 28 actions have been carried forward from Annual Plan Year 2. This proposed Year 3 plan leaves an achievable Year 4 against the Council Plan. Councillors, tonight we bring you the Council Plan 2021 to 2025, Year 3 Annual Plan for adoption.
Thank you, Jenna. Council has got a recommendation that Council adopt the Council Plan 2021-2025, Year 3 Annual Plan. Someone move that please. Councillor Mill, thank you. Councillor Pollard, sorry, it's up there. So that's discussion, Councillor Mill.
Look, yes, through you, Mr Mayor. We realise that the flood event has forced a few carryovers in here, and of course anything like that will postpone some works and make the next year full or fuller. But our staff have done a pretty good job of assuring us that they can get this work done, and I have no doubt that they will, Mr Mayor, but a great measure of what we've achieved and what we were slaughtered the floods in achieving. So a great opportunity to keep the community informed and just work through these list of things that need to be done in the plan. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pollard? No, nothing. Any other councillors? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Yes, that's carried. Thank you. Eight 2023 local government community satisfaction survey results. Jenna, you're again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, Council, this report comes to you tonight to formally acknowledge the results of the 2023 local government community satisfaction survey. Council's overall performance has fluctuated over time, but since achieving its peak in 2021, perceptions have significantly declined for consecutive years, returning to ratings seen in 2016 and 2017. Results from the local government community satisfaction survey have been nationally trending downward over the last 2 years, with many factors influencing how residents experience local government services, including cost of living and affordability, as well as emergency events such as flooding. Councillors, tonight we bring you the results of the 2023 local government community satisfaction survey for noting.
Thank you. Council's got a recommendation that council note the results of the 2023 local government community satisfaction survey. 2, consider future actions in response to the result. And 3, publish the results of the survey to the community. Do I have somebody move that, please? Councillor Hogan, a seconder. Councillor Simpson, discussion. Councillor Hogan.
Overall, this was fairly disappointing. I think everybody has to agree. There's a lot of work done. I think the roads were one of the main problems, and which is an obvious outcome from the floods directly. But I think there needs to be a much better focus on annually dealing with the roads. I don't know how, but it just seems to be that there needs to be a better way of handling the huge responsibility we've got for this road network. And I know we're down on staff, but there's got to be a way of working out how we can get better results to get work on the ground to service the people that pay the rates and need the roads. Also, I think the public are concerned. It would seem that a lot of works orders and requests for the jobs getting done in local communities aren't getting done, and I think that's affecting the results we get from these plans. So work to be done.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson.
To mention our forest satisfaction surveys on the roads and our community customer service. I think as a council we acknowledge that these are areas that we need to put work into. I know our staff are working very hard to get extra funding for roads, and hopefully our strategies for staff for customer service, which we have amended and passed tonight, will lead us forward in those areas. And although we tend to focus on the areas that we need to work on, we should also acknowledge the work which is done in maintaining our sports facilities, our leisure areas, and the projects that we have happening in these areas, and also there was something else I was going to mention, that are our waste and rubbish management in the survey acknowledges the fact that we've put work and into to these areas, and hopefully we will continue to improve in all areas of our delivery to our ratepayers.
Thank you, councillor Drew. Other councillors?
Well, Mayor,
Councillor Warren?
yes. I note in this recommendation, it says, consider future actions in response to the results. I'll just give you a little heads up. Local government's about roads, rates and rubbish. We did all right on the rubbish. Rates are questionable. We absolutely failed miserably on roads. And just to point out, as I have done on numerous occasions at these forums and at briefings, when you take $1 million each year from the roads budget of this organisation, this is the result you get. That's my 2 bobs worth.
Thank you, councillor Warren. Other councillors? Councillor Milne, I think you were putting your hand up there just before.
For the sake of getting myself into trouble, Mr. Mayor, I might. Fine.
Thank you. All those in favour of this report? Against? That's carried. Thank you. 8.4.3, Sale Yard Precinct Local Law number 1515 of 2023. Director of Infrastructure and Delivery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, council will call at its meeting held on the 27th of June that it resolved to commence community engagement for the purposes of undertaking requirements of the Local Government Act prior to making the Sale Yards Precinct local law. Through this engagement process, further minor amendments were recommended by key stakeholders involved in monitoring Sale Yards operations, and those recommendations have been incorporated into the final local law presented to the council this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Q. Council's got a recommendation that council make the Sale Yard Precinct Local Law number 15, 2023, and 2, give notice in accordance with section 74.5 of the Local Government Act 2020 that the council has made the Sale Yard Precinct Local Law number 15 in the Government Gazette and on the council's internet site. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Pollard, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Simpson. Discussion, Councillor Pollard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's important that we have this precinct local law in place, as our previous one is about to expire this month. So it's in good timing to get this one up and going.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Simpson.
And I believe that it supports this unique precinct for the local and surrounding shires. We're very lucky to have the facility of a sale yard, and this will bring the policy up to date.
Thank you. Other councillors? I think council put that to the vote. All those in favour? Yeah, that's carried. Thank you. 8.5, report from councillors. Councillor Hogan, we'll start with you.
Nothing is nature to report, just as we've been provided.
Thank you. Councillor Mill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As did a lot of councillors, we managed to get to one of the thank you breakfasts to the staff, and had a very enjoyable meal there. But a good chat with staff, and a bit of banter is always good. We've also had the Buloke Tourism Board AGM and Wyndham Valley Tourism Board AGMs in consecutive days, and pretty much a status quo exists in those two boards. The Buloke Tourism Board decided to take a stand speed field days, which was a bit of a late notice thing, but we took the opportunity to do it. And while I guess we won't know the full benefit of it, I mean, we got great inquiry and a lot of good feedback from it. So I continued on from that to Railway Alliance meeting in Melbourne, and there is the minutes of that have been sent, so they'll go on the bulletin. Particularly of discussion was the fact that it was getting harder to get members to attend in person now that Zoom has come along. And I guess the members had a discussion and decided that 2 would be in person, the AGM and one other special with a guest speaker, and the others could be Zoom, where there'd be Zoom potential for most of them, but does mean that we'll have to buy more gear and whatever else. But the main point was that if I guess that if we don't have a deputy delegate to these sort of things, then we probably should consider them. I think we might have one in this situation, but consider that in our deliberations at the next statutory, simply because the Railway Alliance has now got good rapport with the state government and all the people who interact within that department or in that area. And if we're not at the table when presenters come along, if there's only 3 or 4 of us there and the rest on Zoom, I mean, it does. I guess it still shows a level of interest, but it's not as good as we're getting feedback from bureaucrats and politicians that maybe we're not going as good as we think we are because of the membership. So,
Thank you, Councillor.
so I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Simpson.
I regret that due to ill health, I was unable to attend any of the thank yous to our staff who, and I would like to take this opportunity to say that they did a mighty job, and the communities are very grateful for the work put in by staff at the time of the flood mitigations, and I would like to congratulate the staff who have put in many hours that the public don't see post our flood time. And other than that, I have struggled to fulfil any other council duties other than the 3 meetings.
Thank you. I'll go to the
Four
bottom.
meetings, I think it is actually.
I'll go to the bottom of the screen, Councillor Pollard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We had a Calder Highway Improvement Committee meeting, and I think we nearly have to reinvent ourselves a little bit to try and get people to turn up. It's getting a little bit disappointed now that it's been twinned all the way to Bendigo. The councils down that area are gradually dwindling off. Other than that, that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Look, a fairly light on month for me. Suffice to say that anything of note I've forwarded through to staff to be included in the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, councillors, I've sent my mayor's report through there. I just want to highlight one thing on mine. And Saturday, I was invited guest to the Calgoa 20th anniversary of the store and the back 2 up there. It's a fantastic event. Many displays in the bowling club, which is now defunct, the tennis club, golf club that have also gone. The hall with many old photos. The town was really full of people. It was a great day and a great meal at the hotel up there. And the committee were really thankful for the work of the council staff in having the town looking spot on. It was Mickey Mouse. Really good, and they were very appreciative of the funding that they got through the grants program to run that event. That's and all the other. Just want to highlight that one, and all the other events are written there. Thank you. 9 other business. 9.1 notice of motion. I have nil. 9.2, questions from councillors. I have nil. 9.3, urgent.
Point of order, Mayor. You might have no written ones. There may be some verbal ones.
Well, councillor Mills got one, and we'll go to you in a second.
Well, I'm happy for these to be taken on notice unless somebody can give answers, but the Buloke wind farm, are we likely to get a council briefing information session on this particular item?
Through
Given
you,
that the first we knew about it was in the paper.
yes. Through you, Mr. Mayor, staff have been in contact with Matt, as part of the council group.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the other one is with regard to the land settlement agreement, which we also learned about on the front page of the Buloke Times, with no consultation with Buloke Shire, or the other shires from what I can understand. So will we be getting a briefing on what we can expect to get out of that surprise to the document, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, through you, certainly we can organise a briefing from staff. We might have further discussions about whether you were looking for some external people to attend that briefing before we schedule that.
Well, I guess through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess that's whoever's got the information, because it seems to be hidden away, not very forthcoming at this stage. Although there may well be somebody appointed to get around and present to councils and other interested bodies, but at this point I haven't heard of anybody. So I'm keen to find out what it means.
I could probably add to that, councillor, too, that the CEO did inform me before he went on leave that the CEOs from the Wimmera meeting after he get back with the forensic agent, and we'll have that discussion as well. So I'm assuming that's still to happen.
Well, then that might, after that meeting, may preempt something that we can attach ourselves to.
Councillor Warren.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a footnote to that last discussion. My understanding is that all the CEOs have previously been briefed on this agreement at a non-country meeting with Barajji Gadget. So you may ask the CEO about that particular briefing on country. He might have some more information that he can pass on to the councillors who will be greatly affected by these changes. Just following up from earlier points this evening. Now, we've been asked and we've granted graciously to leave to two of our councillors for the next 6 to 3 months. What arrangements are in place to cover the absence of those councillors whilst they are on a leave of absence? Just so that, given the community satisfaction survey, obviously the community feeling a little bit unloved. So I'm hoping that this leave of absence doesn't have a detrimental impact on our standing in the community. I do notice that both of those councillors are from the one ward. Maybe someone could enlighten me on what steps we're taking to ensure that our ratepayers are looked after with our ever dwindling band of councillors.
Councillor Warren, I would presume that as we've only just granted the leave of absence, that nothing at the moment would be in place, and I think further discussions are going to have to be had in that regard.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And the other thing is, we've also granted a leave of absence to the Deputy Mayor. Now, I hope you're in good health, because I'd hate to see anything happen to you in the next 3 months. But has there been any thought to what will happen in the fact that we now do not have a Deputy Mayor actively working at council? Maybe it's a matter that staff could provide some clarification on under the Local Government Act.
Again, I would have to say the same answer to the first question, but we'll ask Ms. Stedman to look at that under the Local Government Act for us and get that back in.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions, councillors?
I've got one from the virtual group. Mr. Mayor, it's just more of a procedural thing. They requested back in April for a thing called a KISS, a Kinder Infrastructure Services Plan. and they haven't heard anything, and it's due by the 18th of August, and if it's not done, they are not able to apply for certain things, I understand. And they also requested a workforce strategy. So they were just hoping that they could be provided by that due date. Apparently it's not a big deal, it's only procedural documents, so if you could please follow up with that.
It's my understanding through that the manager of children and youth is aware of what they require. I think there's an updated one to get updated. So sure. That is in touch with them.
Yeah, just be mindful of that date. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson.
I would like to add to Councillor Hogan's memo there that this is reflective of what I was saying before about timely responses, letters, and support to our local community groups.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Nothing further? Thank you. Urgent business, I have nil written here. Any other business? Councillor Mill?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, just like to make a comment of a sad happening with Donald last night, where Mr. Greg Godkin passed away. Now Greg's been a fire brigade member for over 60 years, or nearly 60 years, captain, group officer, he's also fire investigator. But he returned from an incident last night that the brigade was called out, and sometime after that was found unresponsive on the floor of the fire station and was unable to be revived. So just like to mention the good work that Mr. Godkin has done in the past, and no doubt will be acknowledged over the coming days, but certainly a big loss to the Donald community.
Thank you, Councillor Mill. Any other business? No. 9.5 matters which may exclude the public. Councillors, that pursuant to section 66(1) and 2A of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting be closed to the public to consider the following reports that are considered to be contain confidential information on the grounds provided in section 3(1) the Local Government Act 2020 as indicated. 9.51 contract number C11720223, design, construction, delivery of unregistered movable dwellings in Buloke. G1, private commercial information being information provided by the business, commercial or financial undertaking that if released would be unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage, and H, confidential meeting information being the records of the meeting closed to the public under section 66(2)(a). Somebody move that we close the meeting, please. Councillor Simpson, Councillor Hogan, all those in favour?
Yep.
That's carried. Thank you.